Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So today, as you saw from the thumbnail, we will be discussing autism. What is autism? What are the different levels in autism? What is the spectrum that you might have heard others talk about? And I'm also going to be discussing specifically how that has applied in our journey, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a better understanding of autism in general. I will say that autism is a very unique experience for the individual with autism. I know that firsthand, having my twins, though they have a lot of similarities, their autism journey has been very specific to them as a person. So please go ahead and keep that in mind. When you meet someone with autism, doesn't necessarily mean that the next person that you meet with autism will be the same. Though they share many characteristics, it is a very unique journey for everyone. There's this saying that I have heard over the last 2 years that really resonates, especially having twins, and that is that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. And like I said, I know that firsthand, having experience with twins, their journeys, though they do cross paths at times, they are very different in their individuality. So go ahead and stay tuned. First, we're going to go ahead and cover the medical definition and terminology of autism, and then I'm going to go ahead and share some characteristics, some signs of autism, as well as covering those 3 levels that goes into the spectrum disorder. So go ahead and stay tuned and we'll get right into it. And towards the end of the video, you guys will get to meet the girls. So I am so excited to share them with you guys and continue this journey on YouTube. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so if you type in autism into Google, this is a definition that comes up. It says, autism spectrum disorder impacts the nervous system, and the range and severity of symptoms can vary widely. Common symptoms include difficulty with communication, difficulty with social interactions, obsessive interest, and repetitive behaviors. Now this next slide is going to be the signs of autism, and I think I really like this illustration. So I'm just going to point out a few on here, and I'll let you guys pause this and read some if you want. Inability to relate to others, hyperactivity and passiveness, inappropriate crying or laughing. And that's just when they're like crying or laughing with no specific reason, and my girls have done that. Also oversensitive or undersensitive to sounds and lack of awareness to danger. I'll let you go ahead and pause, and if you want to go ahead and look at these signs, or you can go right into Google and Google them yourself. Now the next slide is going to be talking about the different levels of autism. So in this slide, it talks about the different levels. So there's levels 1, 2, and 3. Levels 1 is called high functioning autism. Number 2 would be mild autism, and level 3 is more severe autism. So level 1 is going to be requiring support, difficulty with interacting socially, organization and planning problems can hamper independence. Level 2, social interactions limited and narrow to special interests, frequent and restricted repetitive behaviors. And level 3, where my daughters are at, that requires a lot of support. And this says severe deficits in verbal and nonverbal social communication skills, great distress and difficulty with changing actions and focus. And this is very, very true for my girls. They have a really, really hard time with daily living, routines. We are very limited even going out into the environment, and having any change in their day is very, very difficult, and that is what severe autism is for my daughters. Alright, now that we have covered the medical terminology and we've gone over the signs of autism and the different levels, I'm going to go ahead and discuss with you guys our specific journey. So I'll share a little bit of the beginning in our story on how I suspected they had autism, how the process from me suspecting that they had autism to the process of getting an evaluation and the wait time and the wait list and everything, to our official diagnosis, and then what we did right away after their diagnosis. So first, I had a kind of complicated pregnancy, but not really. I am a very small, petite person, and I had twins. So the biggest issue that I had in pregnancy was just that they were trying to come out very prematurely. So I had a lot of hospital visits, I had a lot of checkups with them just to make sure that we were gonna make it to at least 34 weeks. That was the goal. for them to be able to breathe on their own, hopefully, and not have to have a very long NICU stay. Now, they were born early and they did have a NICU stay for about 2 weeks, but everything else was still healthy and they were developing perfectly fine until about the 11.5 to 12 month mark. Everything beforehand was going really great. They were babbling, saying mama dada, they had amazing eye contact, they were very social. Looking back on those times, oh my goodness, sometimes it gets really emotional, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and stick to the facts. So around the first signs that I saw was in my first twin, so Aliya. So her first signs was a big red flag for me that something was going on, was the regression. So, and what I mean by regression was her not doing what she was already able to do. So she has a personality of independence of sorts, and so she didn't want anyone to teach her how to walk, so she started walking on her own. She started to revert, and this is the red flag that I'm talking about as far as regression goes, is she started to crawl instead of walk. That was one big red flag that I was kind of concerned with. And then also her eye contact started to fade very quickly. So her engagement just started to become very choppy and eventually was just night and day difference. She was no longer looking at me when I would call her name. She was not looking at me when I would make different sounds. And it was very, very concerning because it was such a drastic change of what I knew. And then came the no longer babbling very much and not saying anything pretty much. And after that came diet things where she started to restrictively only eat specific foods, and repetitive behavior started, and then self-injury. So it kind of all just started mounting, but from 11 months and on, towards the end of 11 months and on, and that's when I knew like something was seriously going on. And Kira, my second twin, she started to have the exact same progression of things minus the not walking part, about a month or two after Aliya. So I would say around the 12-13 month mark, she started to show signs as well. The big thing with Kira in the beginning was self-injury, and self-injury is, so they call it self-injurious behavior, and that's when they start harming themselves. And at the time I thought it was for no specific reason, but now being on this journey, I know that there is specific reasons for their behavior, and I'll go into all of the behavioral things in other videos, but so might want to keep this in the forefront for the future for when we discuss behavioral things in this autism journey. So after I had my suspicions, I went ahead and the first thing I did actually was go on Facebook and I asked a question about developmental delays. And then I got a lot of comments talking about autism and getting evaluation. So the next day, right away, I went ahead and made an appointment with our pediatrician. I went in and he said they were 34 weekers, they were premature, it's just developmental delays, don't worry. I did not believe that was the case. I had a very strong inkling that something very serious was going on. So I asked them for a referral to a birth to 3 program, and they do developmental delay evaluations. That's what we did next a few months later. We did that next, and they said, I wonder if they're hearing impaired because they're really not attending to their name. And I told them they had perfect hearing, everything was perfectly fine. So that didn't really make sense to me. So then they mentioned to me contacting the Seattle Children's Autism Center and asking for an evaluation. So we did that step next, and we girls were 2 years and 3 months old. And it was, I'll never forget, it was around October and November 10 when they got their official diagnosis. And that's the day that we found out for sure that they had autism. And they also explained to me the different levels and where they were specifically on this autism spectrum. And they are both on the severe side or low functioning on the spectrum, which means that they will need a lot of support moving forward. And that has been our journey the last 2.5 years, is getting them help so that they have the best quality of life. So that kind of covers everything in a nutshell. But actually, right after we received our diagnosis, the process after that moved very quickly. We were actually very blessed and got into the Seattle Children's EI program. That stands for Early Intervention, and I have to say that that is seriously the best thing that we ever did for my daughters. And it's Early Intervention ABA, so Applied Behavioral Analysis Therapy. ABA therapy was life-changing for us. We actually, previous to doing applied behavioral analysis, ABA therapy, we're doing birth to 3. We actually did birth to 3 services, developmental delay therapy services in our home from the time they were 16 months old all the way up until they were 3, and it did not compare at all to ABA therapy. ABA therapy is so specific and so tailored to your child's needs. So if you're a parent with a child on the autism spectrum and you're wondering about ABA therapy, or you've heard about ABA therapy, I would highly suggest that you really dig and look into finding a provider for your child. It is truly life-changing for them, for your family, and as far as support goes, they are amazing. If you are in the Seattle area, I would highly recommend that you contact the Seattle Children's Autism Center and ask about their early intervention program. I can't say enough amazing things about them. I just wish that their program was a long-term program. Theirs is a 3-month program, and it is just truly life-changing. And I'll go into our ABA early intervention experience in another video, but I do want to say that after you get your diagnosis, the process into getting services will go a little bit faster, but I will also admit that finding an ABA therapy provider can be a bit rough, but I will go into all of that in following videos. But please do not feel discouraged. If you're in the Seattle area, again, I would highly suggest that you contact the Seattle Children's Autism Center. They have amazing people that can guide you in the right direction. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I would love to get back to you. So I think that's it as far as the nutshell of our experience in the diagnosis and finding out what autism is kind of process. And then now all that's left is for you guys to meet my beautiful little ladies, and I'll enter a little video here of them having such a great time the other day at the park.
Whoa! She doesn't get it that you're supposed to go get her, Kira. Bye-bye.
Alright guys, so that concludes this video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, and go ahead and please share this with anyone that you think might find this helpful. Yeah, I know I look totally different by the end of this video. I just came back from jumping on the trampoline with the girls. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that little clip of them, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!